At the end of the day, the biggest thing about branding is that you need to stand out as you. So you'll notice that all of the other people are posting motivational fluff, but that doesn't really do them any good because that isn't describing who they are, and it's not getting their audience to become familiar with them. They're posting something of somebody else. And if they're not posting motivational stuff, they're usually being an infomercial, which doesn't stand out either, because once you start posting it, it just becomes that white noise that nobody's listening to anymore. They just tend to tune it out. I mean, how many times can you see a before and after of weight loss, or before and after of clear skin and a bad complexion? The before and after pictures don't work. They might work in the beginning, but after a little bit, you're going to start losing friends, and because people are going to get annoyed with looking at that. People don't want to see you looking amazing. People don't want to see other people looking amazing. They want to know what's in it for them. So maybe an example for a post that's surrounding weight loss or health management is, do you want to be able to be in family pictures this summer? Or are you the bride that needs to lose weight to get into that wedding gown that, you know, is 1.5 inches too little, and you've got to be able to squeeze into it? So you've got to figure out ways to solve their problems, not be putting stuff in their face over and over and over again, because I tell you, I get annoyed when it's like, all right, I'm done seeing that. Like, you want to come up with solutions for them. So maybe for somebody that's engaged, you know, post that wedding picture. How do you want to look in your wedding pictures? Do you want to be the mom that's standing behind all the kids? You've got them all bunched in front of you because you don't want anybody to see you but your face. Or do you want to, you know, be the one at the beach with your swimsuit cover up on because you're too afraid to be in the photo? So those are the kind of posts that you want to make. You could even post quick tips on how to develop that lifestyle. So quick meals under 30 minutes, or pre-packaged meals, you know, the salad in the jar, like Sarah's mentioned before. Become the expert on that. You know, like if you're selling health supplements, you can feed your kids that processed stuff, but I wouldn't do that. And why wouldn't you do that? If you're the gym owner, you know, there's a gym on every corner. I know where I live, there's CrossFit gyms popping up everywhere. So why should they pick yours? The reason they are going to pick yours is because of you and what value you're offering them. You know, when they come to your gym, do you know what went on with their family last weekend? Do you know what's going on in their work life? Do you know what issues they're having with their health? You know, the more you get to know them on a personal level, the more that is going to help them have that connection with you. And you're going to be known as that person that takes personal interest in each one of their customers. Or you've got a silver solution. You know, why would they buy your thing instead of going onto Amazon and buying it at a discount? Why would they pay a little bit more to come and buy it from you? You want to create that loyalty to where they're coming back time and time again, not only because you're the expert, but because you care about them, and that's what you're known for. At the end of your post, you're going to want, and we're not going to talk a whole bunch about posting because we do have another workshop on that, but you want to have a call to action. So what is the person going to do next? Are they going to join your group? Are they going to buy a product? Are they going to, you know, come to your next live? Are they going to attend your workshop? What is it that you're offering at the end of that post? And it's always something, and make it subtle. Like, don't have it in your face. One thing that Sarah and I talk about all the time is that people, they're either posting about their product or they're posting about their lifestyle. But at the end, they're always like, but I get to do this because I work from home. So they're still selling their thing. It's just not their product. Well, it is their product. It's their work from home. But it's not so in your face. So you would be better off to be posting while you're out doing that activity with your kids or whatever, but not call attention to it. People can see what you're doing. So if you make a post around it and just leave it at that, they're going to be like, oh man, I wish I were on that field trip, or I wish I were at the beach today instead of sitting in this office, you know. So do it subtly, not so in your face, but do something that's going to catch their attention. And keep it simple, keep it basic. People don't want everything at once. They don't want you to throw up in their lap all the time, and they won't process all of it. So they get lost when you provide too much info. Those long posts that like you have to click open and it's an entire page long. No, you're not catching my attention, I can tell you that. But people just get lost in that, and then they don't hear anything you're saying. So kind of do something that's going to like punch them in the gut subtly, or break their legs, you know, but don't give them too much. Give them just enough so that they're coming back to you, reaching out to you because you're the expert. Give them the basic steps. What do they do first? What do they do second? What's the process they're going to go through? Lead them down that logical path that they are going to be like, okay, I'm here. This is where I want to get, and this is how I'm going to do it.
And remember at the end of the day that you are the authority. You're it. So as you do this, you're not going to share other people's posts. You're going to do your own posts. And I don't mean that you're just going in and copying somebody's stuff. Don't do that. Be original. You're the authority. You're not going to share other people's articles and links. You're not going to post up YouTube videos. You're not going to copy and paste. You're not going to just slap up a motivational quote you found on the internet. That's silly sauce. And part of that is part algorithm. Facebook doesn't like it. They won't show your posts to anybody. But the other part of it is that you are the expert. It's you. I mean, really think about this. Do you go to conventions where they slap up somebody's article and you just sit there and read somebody's article? No, that would be ridiculous. Sometimes they'll reference the article or mention the article, but they sure don't use that as the basis for everything that they're doing, and neither are you. If you think about it, you might get ideas from places like that, but then you're going to internalize them and you're going to make it your own. You can credit them, you know, if you want to. Hey, I was reading this book today and they talked about this and it made me think about all of this. But don't just copy and paste. You're the leader. Start being the leader. Brand you. Don't brand the guy who came up with the quote to begin with. You got to think this through a little bit. So you're going to use your own picture. You're going to take that idea. You're going to make it your own. You can get it, like I said, from magazine articles, books. PicMonkey is a great place to be able to take that picture and be able to put a quote in it or wherever you want to with it. But now all of a sudden it's yours. It's your picture. Don't just steal that person's quote, but come up with your own variation on it. And remember, this all hinges on finding the right audience. So for example, I see pictures of people flashing cash all day long. Now that's totally not who I am. But if you've built that audience that they expect that and that's what they like, go ahead and do it. If you have the audience that wants to come to you because they love all the decorating tips that you're doing, that's your audience. You know, start posting around that. But you know, it's so complicated, and it really is. It's not hard to do, but it's complicated, and getting the right steps down and finding that audience might take a little bit of trial and error. I mean, we have whole workshops just devoted around defining that whole target audience because it's tricky. Now, you can gauge some of this to some extent based on your post engagements. And what I mean by that is, are you getting crickets? Or are people actually starting to like your post and starting to comment? Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because remember, popularity doesn't matter because you're looking to be an influencer. But as you become an influencer, you're going to find that the popularity follows. But remember, the big key difference is popularity doesn't pay you. Being an influencer does. And so you want to be an influencer. But remember, too, that this is kind of like when you go on that diet. I can go on a diet this morning and step on the scale 22 times today, and it may go up, it may go down, it may stay the same, but it's really not a true indication of if I'm, fixing my lifestyle, right? You want to probably, not stand on the scale for a week or maybe 2 weeks or, and even then, you're just kind of gauging, because remember, you've got to condition your audience. Your audience isn't used to this new you. They're not used to what you're trying to do on your page. So as you start to do this, they're going to start to watch. And as you consistently do it, they're going to start to consistently show up. They're going to start to consistently post. You're going to start to find other people that want to come in and be part of this group that you're growing on your page. So what you're really trying to do is you're trying to post that right thing at the right time for that one person that's going to make that person pull the trigger right now, today. Now, the tricky thing about that is you don't know which person that right person is going to be. But there is somebody out there that's leaning forward, waiting for what you're going to say. And everybody else on the planet is probably going to miss that day. They're going to read the post and not get it. But 1, 2, maybe 5 people will. And they're going to jump into their inbox and they're going to go, oh my gosh, I get it. Where have you been? It's time. So as you do this, remember how important it is to evaluate your posts, because that's the only way you're going to get that person leaning forward, ready to make a buying decision today, or ready to choose who their realtor is going to be, or what gym they want to go to, or how they want to take care of their family. Somebody's out there waiting for you today. And if you're posting wrong, it's not going to be you. They're going to find somebody else. So I want you to evaluate your posts before you post. And it doesn't happen overnight, but you're going to, start to post consistently, and it will happen. I was kind of laughing because sometimes I'll think about a post and I'll think about taking it down because it doesn't have the punch that I want it to have. And you might want to think before you do that, because I've had posts that 10 days, 20 days later are still coming up that people are commenting on, but that first day, it was really slow. So, it does take time. Some days, it just is a matter of when you post it. There's really, at the end of the day, think about this too, is as you're growing that audience, there's no point in you posting about this wonderful dog food or, about these dogs if you've got this audience full of cat lovers, right? So you've really got to evaluate who that audience is. And if you're finding that over a period of time, you're still getting crickets, and that you're posting a consistent theme and you're not, posting too often or whatever, then you are going to have to step back and evaluate and say, okay, I have this rescue dog that I love, and I'm posting all about this rescue dog, but nobody's responding. So then you've got to decide, well, do I keep posting about my dog and find a new audience, or do I change how I'm posting to fit my audience? And you can actually do that pretty quick by, going in and evaluating who these friends are that you're cultivating. And, it goes back to what we talked about last time. Look at those clients that you want next and start to attract those people. Go hang out in those groups where those people are. So, that's just a couple, really quick tips. Like I said, this, we do week-long workshops on this. It's complicated, but just to make sure that every single post you think before you post and go, okay, evaluate it under that criteria of, does it fit my purpose or is it off topic?
Yeah, so like she's talking about, creating your brand doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you're going to figure out what your audience is looking for, and then you're going to provide that for them. And that doesn't mean that you're going to change, what company you're doing or what product you have. You're just going to figure out a way that it fits into their life. So there's that old saying that is, remember that all butterflies start out as caterpillars. They don't have wings. And most people, that applies to people, most people have different points on their journey, and you want to meet them at their point. So like I'm saying, you don't necessarily have to change what you're doing. You just have to see where it fits in with their life. So they have a different state of mind right now, and you're going to need to condition them to see that they really do need what it is that you have and that what you have to offer. People often confuse selling as meaning that they have to constantly pitch their service or product. And like I said before, that just drives people away. They're going to unfollow you. They're going to unfriend you. As you post, your transformational results, make it applicable to them. This is about them. You're solving a problem for them. And when you do this, they're going to come to trust you. They're going to feel like they're your friend. Like um, the other day I was posting, there was a realtor that was wanting input on their business card picture. Do I do it in black and white or do I do it in color? And you sometimes have to be bold and get in there and be really honest with them, because people appreciate that honesty. They may not want to necessarily hear it, but they're going to realize that you're somebody that's going to tell them what's best for them, and they're going to come to trust you more than they would that person that just comments and says, oh no, I think you look fabulous. Either one would be great. But if you say, no, I really liked the color one, I thought it made your eyes pop out, or I really thought that the color of the shirt you were wearing complemented your hair. So if you can create that relationship where they really feel like you care about them and that you're their friend, they're going to feel more confident in confiding in you with what it is they're looking for, what it is they're struggling with. They're going to come to value your opinion and your advice. They're going to trust you as the leader and the expert, because they know that you're going to be open and honest with them and that you have the answers. And if you don't, then you're going to tell them that, I don't, maybe you need to ask somebody else for that. And then they're going to respect you for being able to say, I don't have that answer, but I do have the other answers that you're looking for. So take into account that everything is a good idea when somebody is in a good mood. And everything is a bad idea when somebody's in a bad mood. So in your post, you want to use your excitement and your positivity in order to put your viewer into a good mood so that they are receptive to what it is that you're offering. Sarah kind of already touched on this, but don't use templates or copy and paste, because that's not going to stand out. I actually had an experience a couple weeks ago where I had created my own, I had my image and I'd put my quote on it. And a couple days later, I was scrolling through and I was like, that's my post. Like, who stole my post? And I was like, well, am I flattered or am I bugged by that? And so, but then it confirmed to me, like, I was like, oh, I'm being an influencer. That's exactly what I want to do. But you don't want to be the person that's copying and pasting that, because then you don't become the expert. Somebody else was the expert and that person copied you. So become the expert and learn to master that method.
So the very most important thing that you're going to do when you're branding is to follow the 4 C's. The 4 C's are the complete package. They're going to form the foundation for every single level that you scale up as you become an influencer, as you build your brand. And all of these have got to be present. If you're missing any of them, it's just like when you have the pillars in your house, your foundation will crumble, your house will fall, it won't last. So the first C is community. You've got to have the right group of eyeballs. You've got to be able to make short sentences that relate to this group and are enticing to them. That goes back to audience again. Build that right community. Confidence. Now on the outset, it sounds like you've got to be confident, and you do, but you've got to create confidence in the person watching you. You've got to create that curiosity. Why should that person have confidence in you? Why do they believe you? Why do they need you? Where are you going to lead them? Why do they want to follow? The third one is clarity. Before you post, ask, what's my purpose? Do I have a purpose in this? And remember, it's all got to relate back to that core deliverable. The fourth one is consistency. Now, what does that mean? Now, on the outset, I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, I've got to do a certain amount of posts today. No, has nothing to do with that. Remember, you're actually better only posting when you've got something great to say. But it's about having that consistent message. So are you doing stuff consistently? Is it all following around that same theme? Are you being a consistent person? Are you trustworthy? Are you honest? Are you consistent? And now I know I told you it has nothing to do with posting except for when you've got something good to say. And you might have to research that a little bit, because you do want to be posting often enough that you show up in people's newsfeed. I remember when I first started out, I had a friend that I really didn't talk to very often, but he sent me a quick, text and he goes, what in the world are you doing? Because every time I turn on my computer, your face is right there, and that's what you want. And that's going to start to come as you start to post around a theme as well, because the more people start to watch you, the more people that social media sends it out to, because they feel like what you're doing is relevant and that it's needed and that people like it. So again, it has nothing to do with jumping on, I've got to be on there 3 times a day. No, 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 no. It has to do with you following that consistent message.
Yeah, so using those 4 C's and posting that way, you're going to create curiosity in the way, for example, for the hunter-gatherer thing, you don't want to go out there and be hunting for people. When you go out looking for interaction and having an impact, you're going to do it in a subtle way where you are providing them with information, and then they're going to come back to you, and all you're going to have to do is gather them in and make them a part of your world and make them be important to you and help them feel like you are that #1 problem solver. You're going to solve their issues and their problems before they even know them, because you're watching them, you're knowing what's going on with them. And when you reach out to them or in a post, you're going to post something and they're going to be like, they're totally talking to me. Like, how did they even know? They're right. Like, I can't even believe that they are that in tune with what's going on in my life. I need to take action right now. Like, they're talking to me. They might even be like, when you provide a solution to that problem that they didn't know that they even had, they'll be like, oh, I never even thought about that. And what's going to happen if I don't follow their advice? What are the consequences going to be? How is that going to impact me if I don't take action with them? You want your audience to come back every day anticipating what it is you're going to post, or every other day, or, maybe one day you do 2 posts. You don't want it to be so structured that they're like, all right, it's 3 o'clock. I'm checking to see what she has to say, because that's not how it's going to be. But if they're waiting for that post and then you're like, here it is, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm glad that they finally posted. So you want them saying, oh, what do they have for me now? What piece of information are they going to give me today? How am I going to apply it? How's it going to impact my life? And what problem is it going to solve for me? So before you do anything, ask yourself what you're going to do that makes sense in the context of what you are doing. If it doesn't make sense in what you're doing, then don't do it. For example, you have a sleep product and you're raving about how well you sleep, how your life has changed because you're getting the sleep that you need. And then like 2 nights later, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you're like, I'm wide awake. What is everybody doing? Who's on here to interact with me? Or if you're selling makeup and you're like, jump on with me, I'm going to do a live here in 5 minutes for your quick makeup tutorial, and 45 minutes later, you're still putting on your makeup. Like those types of things, people are going to be like, oh, I'm not jumping on that. She says it's a quick tutorial, but I know it's going to be 45 minutes long and I just don't have the time to do it today. Or if you're like, you need to eat healthy, you need to put only whole grain foods in your body, or eat your fruits and vegetables, and then the next time you're posting and you've got a big burger and fries, just don't contradict yourself in your post, because that's not who you are. That's not what you're offering them, and it's going to make you lose your credibility. So we want you to keep your credibility high, because that's what's going to keep people coming back to you.
So I want you guys to think about a classic. What makes a classic? And you could even think classic cars, although I wasn't thinking down that line. But, what's a classic? You've got the classic music. You've got the classic art. It actually does apply to classic cars. Why did they pass that test of time? Why are they still around while other things have faded into obscurity? So, for example, when I think of some of the masters, I think of, maybe Mozart, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Michael Jackson, Van Gogh, Monet, Picasso. And if you think about it, none of them were in the same genre. So it isn't that you have to be part of one thing or fit this one mold or look one way or dress one way or act one way to be a classic. They certainly didn't. In fact, they broke out of that mold to become a master. And they have very distinct styles. They're very recognizable and unique. When you see a Picasso, you know immediately that's a Picasso. When you hear Michael Jackson, you know immediately that's Michael Jackson. Elvis, they've stood the test of time, and they're not going to go away anytime soon, and people may not recognize what it is about them that make them masters, but everybody can agree that they are. And people don't recognize what makes them masters because it's complex. There's so much complexity there. And these people that are looking at it, they're not masters themselves. And so as you analyze that work of art or the music, you can't pick out all of the things that make it a classic, but you can still enjoy them. And everybody agrees that they're masterpieces and they have stood the test of time. And that's because they're masters. And what made them masters was it was that complete package. They had every single element. And just like we just told you, the 4 C's are your complete package. And you don't want to miss those elements. Now, when these masters set out to become masters and to create that wonderful music or create that beautiful car or, that awesome painting, they didn't worry about fame or popularity. They didn't look at something and go, do I think this will be popular? In fact, most of them were not popular. It was later that it got recognized. But they were just concerned with delivering that complete package. They wanted it to be whole. They didn't want to miss pieces. They wanted that whole enchilada, so to speak. And the mastery of the components was absolutely necessary to create those works of art. If they'd missed any of those pillars, they wouldn't have had it. And the success did come as a result of that mastery of the techniques. That's why hundreds of years later, we can still recognize and appreciate that Da Vinci. We can still recognize and appreciate that Mozart. The success, the mastery didn't come because of the success. They had the mastery first and the success followed. That's the way it works, just like your business. You are going to have success as you master these steps. It will come naturally. You are not going to chase after popularity, fame, and a crowd. Those will come after you master these pillars. They'll come after you master those 4 C's. They'll come. You're building a brand and you're becoming an influencer, and it has nothing to do with the amount of likes on your post or the amount of followers or the amount of friends. Those things will come as you master the techniques. I just want you to look, and Rebecca just wants you to look, that you're mastering those foundations, that you've got a strong foundation to be able to build the layers and layers and layers and layers. I think the hardest part is lots of times we start at the beginning, but you don't want to start at the beginning. You want to start at the end. But if you miss any of those steps in between, it will crumble. It takes time, and it takes the same amount of time to be just popular as it does to become an influencer, but they're going to yield vastly different results. So if you're going to take the time to really master it. So that's what we want to leave you with, is that branding is complex because you've got to come up with the right audience and the right things to post about. But really, at the end of the day, it's just about you being you. It's about you not being afraid to be vulnerable, to let other people see who you are. It's about you not feeling like you have to be an infomercial. It's about you just showing people what you stand for and creating that rapport. So thanks so much for joining us for this workshop. We're excited to see as you evolve and as you emerge out of that cocoon and become that butterfly and have those wings, because it will come as you're consistent and as you start to believe in yourself. And if this is the end of the road for some of you guys, we're so excited to have met you here. Some of you guys will probably go on to do the deep dive of the content, or maybe do a deep dive into, some of the foundations of some of these social networks, or maybe do a deep dive on how to join groups or create groups. I don't know. But if you decide to join us later on, we're so excited to come back and deep dive with you. But remember, you cannot skip this step. This foundation has to be rock solid as we build these other layers on top of it. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you soon.